7 signs you carry a dark vibration even demonic ambassadors observe. When we talk about carrying a dark vibration, most people recoil at the idea. They imagine something evil, destructive, or cursed. But the truth is much deeper and far more nuanced. A dark vibration is not about being wicked. It is about carrying a certain resonance that bends reality, unsettles illusions, and cannot be ignored. It is the kind of energy that even demonic ambassadors, those entities who patrol thresholds between dimensions, pause to observe. They do not always oppose you. Sometimes they watch, sometimes they test, and sometimes they step aside because they recognize that your path has been marked by something even older and more formidable than them. When you carry such a vibration, life never unfolds in ordinary patterns. I think about your existence for a moment. Have you ever wondered why certain people are drawn to you in ways they cannot explain, while others seem to fear you without ever giving you a chance? That polarity of reaction is often the first clue. Dark vibration makes you noticeable in the unseen. Your presence emits signals that go beyond smiles, clothes, or tone of voice. It is something in the core frequency of who you are. People sense danger, truth, or disruption in you even when you are simply standing still. And this is why demonic ambassadors notice. They are not looking at your actions, they are attuned to vibrations. If yours is marked with the dark weight of destiny, they take note.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Carrying this vibration often manifests as living with intensity. You cannot live half-heartedly. You cannot casually follow trends, adopt shallow identities, or swim in shallow conversations. Everything you do has weight, and everyone who encounters you feels it. That intensity is not about aggression, but about depth. Imagine a still lake in the middle of a forest. From the surface it looks serene, but its depth goes so far down that even the shadows fear to descend. That is your energy. It is not chaos, but gravity. People orbit around it, not knowing why. Spirits, too, orbit around it. Demonic ambassadors, with all their ancient cunning, feel compelled to test its strength. One of the signs you carry this dark vibration is the frequency of sudden challenges that erupt in your life without logical explanation. You may notice seasons where betrayal, loss, or chaos come crashing in waves. To ordinary people, this seems like misfortune, bad luck, or curses. But to those who understand vibration, these storms reveal how much your energy disturbs hidden structures. Darkness does not waste effort on empty souls. If your life is heavily contested, it means your frequency matters. Do you ever ask yourself why life has been heavier for you than others? Why struggles that would break someone else seem assigned to you repeatedly? That is not random. It is evidence that your vibration is already echoing across layers unseen. Another mark of this vibration is the kind of dreams you receive. They are not just psychological puzzles, but gateways. You may dream of being pursued by shadows, of standing at thresholds, of being given cryptic tasks or instructions. These are not mere fragments of imagination, but encounters. Demonic ambassadors, in particular, often appear in dreams as figures of power, temptation, or intimidation. They test your courage, whisper doubts, or observe your choices. Many dismiss these as nightmares, but when you carry a dark vibration, nightmares are not always attacks, they are communications. You are being assessed, measured, and sometimes prepared. Have you ever woken up from a dream with your entire body trembling, not from fear but from recognition? That is one of the ways the unseen speaks to you. Carrying this vibration also alters the way animals, children, and even nature respond to you. Dogs may bark at you without cause. Cats may fix their eyes on you for long periods. Babies may stare at you with a mixture of curiosity and discomfort. Even birds may scatter suddenly when you walk by, or the atmosphere in a room may change as soon as you enter. These responses are not about your personality, but about your field. Demonic ambassadors are not the only ones who notice. The entire fabric of creation notices. Your vibration distorts patterns that most beings take for granted. Where others pass unseen, you cause ripples. Where others blend, you stand out in silence. That is why loneliness often becomes your companion. You are not meant to blend, you are meant to disrupt. But let us be clear, a dark vibration is not a curse, it is a responsibility. Demonic ambassadors observe you because you are rare. They monitor you because you are a potential threat to their dominion, or because you have the potential to shift destinies around you. When you carry this kind of vibration, neutrality is not an option. You will either fall under its weight and let bitterness consume you, or you will master it and become unbreakable. The presence of demonic ambassadors in your orbit is both a challenge and a confirmation. You do not guard an empty treasure. You carry something of immense spiritual weight, and the watchers know it. The practical advice for those with such energy is to stop denying it. Stop trying to convince yourself you are ordinary. Stop numbing your intensity to make others comfortable. Instead, learn discipline. Learn silence. Learn stillness. Learn how to wield your vibration instead of letting it spill uncontrollably. Power unrefined becomes destruction, but power refined becomes sovereignty. This is why even your struggles, betrayals, and wounds matter. They are training ground. Every scar is a symbol of weight carried and survived. Every rejection is evidence that your vibration is not for everyone. Every test is an acknowledgement that your presence is significant enough to attract opposition. Ask yourself this: if demonic ambassadors are watching you, what are they watching you for? Are they hoping you will break so they can claim you? Or are they forced to witness your rise, powerless to stop it? The answer depends not on them but on you. How you choose to respond to your dark vibration determines whether it consumes you or crowns you. And so we have opened the first gate of this truth. But to go deeper, we must step into the heart of the mystery. The next part will reveal how the 7 specific signs show up in your daily life in ways you might not recognize, and why each one proves that even in darkness your path has been marked with destiny. The unseen signs that confirm you are watched and how to read their agenda. When demonic ambassadors notice you, they don't merely glance, they catalog. They are interested in patterns, not personalities. So the second part here is not a list of spooky coincidences, it is a field manual for reading the choreography of the unseen and responding with intelligence rather than panic. First, keep a ledger. This sounds mundane, but the precise act of recording the dates, people, and emotional charges around each odd event trains your pattern recognition muscle. When a betrayal, an offer, or a dream repeats with the same architecture, that repetition reveals strategy. Are certain names always involved? Do offers of fast success appear right after nights of vulnerability? The ledger makes invisible strategy visible. Secondly, learn to read tempo. Ambassadors operate in rhythms, sudden acceleration, a cascade of urgencies designed to force choices, quiet probes, small tests disguised as kindness, and pressure peaks, intense nights, dreams, or physical malaise meant to fracture your center. When you can hear tempo as well as content, you answer with timing rather than reaction. Pause 2 full heartbeats before saying yes to anything urgent. This simple bodily rhythm buys you perspective. Third, test the morale of attraction. Not every magnetic connection is grace, some are recruitment. Ask, does time with this person leave me clearer and stronger, or more scattered and needy? If the latter is true repeatedly, treat the bond as a potential vector for leakage and limit exposure. Fourth, use ritual as firewall. You do not need theatrics, you need rules. A 5-point border ritual before sleep, feet on the floor, 3 slow breaths, a naming of one truth you refuse to trade, a short spoken boundary aloud, and a hand and heart promise reprograms your nervous system to reject stealth influence. That tiny sequence becomes a legal shield in your field. Fifth, practice diplomatic curiosity with your own shadows. Ambassadors love projection. They exploit what you refuse to look at by reflecting it through others. So when you notice intense dislike or obsessive attraction, ask, what in me is this mirroring? Name it out loud. The act of naming collapses projection and disarms the mirror. Sixth, invest in neutral referees. A triad, an elder, a therapist, a pragmatic peer keeps your interpretation honest. When you report a surge of attention or a tempting opportunity, let them hear it. If 2 out of 3 signal danger, step back. The counsel that watches you depends on isolation. Communal corroboration dissolves their advantage. Seventh, turn every test into tuition. When an ambassador sends a dream, a temptation, or a public collapse, don't only survive it, extract the lesson and make it public medicine. Write a post, teach a microsyn, or offer a short video about the pattern. Shadow intelligence thrives on secrecy. Transparency collapses its power. Finally, ask the question the watchers most want you to avoid: who benefits if I remain confused? Answer that truthfully, and you will find the map to your next move. The ambassadors read your confusion as permission. Clarity becomes your counter-offensive. This is tactical spirituality, not bravado, not fear, but disciplined sensitivity. The next phase will show you how to convert pressure into sovereignty, how to let the observation of demonic ambassadors confirm not your doom, but the evidence that you are now accountable for greatness. The sovereign counterstrike, turning ambassadors' observation into unshakable power. There is a moment when watching becomes information, and information becomes permission to act. If demonic ambassadors observe you, don't collapse into fear, convert their attention into intelligence. The sovereign counterstrike begins with a redefinition. Observation is not condemnation, it is data. When you treat every strange dream, every sudden conflict, every magnetic disruption as an indicator rather than an indictment, you shift from victim to strategist. Start by mapping outcomes rather than emotions. For every anomalous event, ask what changed afterward, who gained influence or lost it, what belief in me was challenged. That map will reveal the patterns the ambassadors are testing and the exact seams in your field they hope to exploit. Once you can see the seams, you can stitch them. Discipline is the first tool of sovereignty. Daily micro-practices become the armor that repels stealth influence. Choose 3 replicable daily acts and guard them like vows: a 5-minute centering breath at sunrise, a 2-minute palate-clearing silence before any decision, and a nightly ledger entry that captures one lesson from the day's disturbances. These aren't spiritual luxuries, they are the kiln in which character hardens. Over time, repetition rewires your nervous system so that the ambassador's tempo, urgency, seduction, fatigue loses its leverage. You begin to move at your own cadence rather than their triggered speed. Discipline also includes refusal. The refusal to answer every ping, to react to every provocation, to make urgent choices without deliberation. Say no as a muscle. Build it. Train it in small ways until it becomes your default posture. Boundaries are the second tool. Not flashy boundaries, but juridical ones, written, communicated, and enforced. If someone's voice has historically destabilized you, make a rule: no private calls with that person without a third witness. If certain hours of the day make you vulnerable, barricade them. Publish a short covenant for people you do business with or love: what you will accept, what you will refuse, and the consequences of transgression. The ambassadors depend on porous borders. Your job is to make leakage expensive, both socially and energetically. When you bind boundaries to social consequence, you convert private discipline into public protection. Ritualized reciprocity is the third tool. The watchers operate inside an economy of exchange. They expect returns. Flip the ledger. Every time a test comes, extract something you can return to the world: an essay, a microcourse, a free session, or a ritual that teaches someone else how to resist. Public transformation collapses the ambassador's secrecy. When your wounds become templates for collective healing, their leverage diminishes. This is not exhibition, it's strategic generosity. Give tangibly and regularly. The more you redistribute the currency of your suffering as usable medicine, the less likely you are to be victimized by the same patterns again. Community is the fourth tool. Isolation is the ambassador's favorite terrain. Build a true support system, one elder who will tell you the raw truth, one peer who holds you to practice, and one trained practitioner who helps reset your biology when tests escalate. Rotate them, pay them, and make their feedback public to a small circle so accountability is structural, not optional. Collective corroboration reveals deception faster than any solitary insight. The ambassadors count on your secrecy. Communal transparency nullifies their advantage. Finally, cultivate translation skills. Sovereignty isn't suppression, it's translation, turning shadow into instruction, rage into boundary, shame into methodology. Each test must become a case study. Document it, name it, and teach it publicly in a tiny format no longer than 10 minutes. Teach what you did wrong as loudly as what you did right. Vulnerability with form becomes immunity. Over time, your life will look less like a haunted narrative and more like a curriculum for resilience. People will come not because you are dramatic, but because your methods work. Here's the deepest question to leave you with. If the ambassadors are studying you, what future are they trying to prevent by pushing you so hard today? Answer that honestly, and you will discover where to aim your counterstrike. The final architecture: how to hold your dark vibration so the ambassadors become witnesses, not masters. You have come this far not by accident, but by a series of tests, repetitions, and choices that have taught you something the comfortable never learn. Power without structure is a liability, and darkness that is unexamined becomes tyranny. The final architecture is about converting everything you've endured, the surveillance, the dreams, the magnetic oppositions, into a living temple of practice that simultaneously protects you and radiates a map for others. This is not a dramatic finish, it is an ongoing, ordinary, disciplined way of life. It begins with one truth you must sit with until it settles in your bones. The demonic ambassadors notice you because your field matters. They do not get to decide your destiny. You do. That realization is the cornerstone. Once you accept authorship of your life again, everything else follows logically. You build rules, you design rituals, you craft relationships, and you set public standards that make your vibration a constructive force rather than a wild, dangerous frequency. Start by institutionalizing the little things. Create a daily architecture that contains your power. It doesn't need to be mystical, it must be consistent. Morning, 10 minutes of silence, 5 minutes of movement, and one short written intention that names what you refuse to trade away today: integrity, presence, peace. Midday, a conscious pause, a brief reset, a tall-in ledger of temptations resisted. Night, a ritual of release: light a candle, say 3 things you learned under pressure, and close your field with a short sentence aloud that declares the boundary you will uphold tomorrow. These micro-institutions are tiny laws you apply to your psychic economy. They make you legally accountable to yourself. The ambassadors respect rules, they hate improvisation. When you move from ad hoc spiritualism into juridical practice, habits you keep, even when nothing dramatic is occurring, you become immovable. People will see the change first in your face: less reactivity, softer eyes, steadier voice. The field you radiate will begin to deter manipulation simply by being reliably whole. Next, design public covenants. The secrecy that once shrouded your testing must be replaced by transparent contracts with the people you lead, love, or work with. If you mentor others, create a one-page covenant, what you promise to hold, what you will not tolerate, and the restitution process if trust is broken. If you lead a team, put boundaries in writing, hours of access, emotional labor expectations, and a rotating accountability council. The ambassadors exploit ambiguity. Transparency collapses their playground. When your community sees the rules and how you enforce them, a cultural immune system emerges, predators are exposed, caretakers are supported, and the field becomes regenerative rather than parasitic. This is how individual sovereignty scales into social resilience. Teach what you learned in small, repeatable formats. The best way to neutralize the power that once hunted you is to give away the methods that protected you. Make 5-minute videos about the exact ritual used when a dream shakes you. Write a one-page guide on boundary enforcement for friends and lovers. Lead a live session on how to convert temptation into curriculum. The wise do not hoard their survival strategies, they publish them. Why? Because the ambassadors depend on isolation. When one person's hard-won tool becomes common practice, the leverage of shadow diminishes. Your wounds become the curriculum, your scars become the syllabus. Make your lessons public medicine, and watch how the field around you becomes less hospitable to manipulation and more hospitable to awakening. Cultivate a governance triad for your inner life. Choose 3 people who operate from integrity and discomfort with flattery, an elder who will speak truth to power, a practical peer who will enforce your routines, and a clinician or somatic practitioner who will help when your physiology is hijacked. Rotate them every year to avoid creating cult-of-personality dynamics. Pay them if possible. Make their feedback binding for you. At least in the operational sense, if 2 of the 3 say step back, you step back. This externalizes your inner arbitration so the ambassadors can't win by isolating you. The triad functions like a juridical structure for your soul. It keeps you from confusing charisma for consent and intensity for authority. Build mundane safeguards, financial redundancies, digital dust-downs, and time fences. Keep your finances transparent to one trusted person. Audit your public statements before posting when fatigued, and create technology-free days when no one can reach you. Demonic ambassadors don't only act in dreams, they leverage exhaustion, shame, and secrecy. Ordinary structures, budgets, audits, days off are spiritual armor. When you pair the mystical with the mundane, your field cannot be breached by subtle tactics that usually succeed on those who are brilliant but disorganized. Sovereignty is less about showy feats than about the boring competence of everyday administration. Practice ethical translation. Every test you survive should be turned into a public, teachable moment. When you are tempted, instead of hiding or acting out, document it, the thought, the origin, the pull, the choice you made, and why. Share it in a small post or a private teaching circle. This level of public examination disarms the seduction of secrecy. The ambassadors rely on private compromise. Exposure is their kryptonite. Ethical translation also means refusing to weaponize pain. Do not use your dark vibration to dominate others. Use it to defend, to clarify, to create safety. That distinction keeps you from becoming what you fought. Finally, plan your exit strategies. Not everyone will walk this path with you. Create dignified exit clauses for relationships that drain you. A written letter, a mutual ritual of parting, or a public announcement that honors the good and disallows toxin. When departures are dignified, drama dissolves. When departures are secretive and vengeful, the field becomes a feeding ground for the very darkness you oppose. Exit with integrity, not spectacle. Let me ask you one last, piercing question. If the demonic ambassadors are watching because your vibration matters, what will you build with that attention? Will you shrink back to be tolerated, Or will you erect systems that protect the fragile, mentor the young, and turn your darkness into a blueprint for awakening? The final architecture is not about solitude or spectacle, it is about structure, translation, and public medicine. It is about living in such a way that the watchers become witnesses to your sovereignty, not your surrender. Stand now, breathe, declare one small rule aloud that you will keep this week. Let the ambassadors watch, and let them learn that they observed not a victim but a living, active covenant.